Welcome to Whiteboard Friday. Now this week, you may not know this because it's been very quiet, but the government is actually consulting on our climate change target for 2030. What we want to talk about this week is the importance of methane in that climate target. Actually, methane comes mostly from burps rather than farts. Burps by sheep and cows, which tends to put a lot of methane in the atmosphere. It's not actually farts. Sorry for all the 10-year-old kids out there, including the camera person. Right, so the question is, how important is methane in terms of global warming, in terms of climate change, adding emissions to the atmosphere? Here you see we've got a very scientific graph which has nastiness and over time. So what happens is that, as anyone who's dealt with methane probably knows, initially it's very nasty. Initially, it's actually 200 times nastier than CO2, but it decays very quickly in the atmosphere. In fact, after 10 years, it doesn't have much impact on the atmosphere at all. So, methane, very powerful initially, but very quickly shrinks away in terms of its potency. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, hangs around in our atmosphere for a very long time. It's not as powerful as methane is initially, but it sticks around an incredible long time. Now that means when you're comparing methane with carbon dioxide, they're completely different gases. Anyone who tries to come up with one way of comparing the potency of methane with carbon dioxide can actually come up with a multitude of different numbers. Now it just so happens that the international negotiators have chosen one which says that methane is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. But actually it's just as easy to come up with a number which says methane is 7 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Are you confused? You should be. There's even more studies which say that there's no point in even dealing with methane until we've got carbon dioxide under control. So, should we really be targeting methane at all? That is the big question. Here is an example from your day-to-day lives. It might help you understand this. Every time you go for a drive, you're burning petrol, CO2 is coming out the back. That is adding to the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere and is increasing global warming. Every time a cow farts, on the other hand, that fart is just replacing, sorry, it's a burp, isn't it? I should really have that coming out the front. I'm contradicting myself here. Every time a cow burps, or a sheep for that matter, it's really just replacing a burp from about 20 years ago that keeps the same amount of methane in the atmosphere. Now sure, if we get more sheep and cows, more stock on the land, that means we get more methane in the atmosphere. But with the same size flock, they're actually just replacing the same burps and farts they did 20 years ago. So the same amount of methane stays the same over time. And as you can see, that really can't have much of an impact in terms of increasing the risk of climate change. So we think when it comes to our 2030 climate change target, the government should be focusing on things like fossil fuels, getting our use of carbon dioxide right down, because that's the most important priority in the short term. Over the next 50 years, we really need to wean ourselves off fossil fuels. And then after that, hopefully scientists will have come up with a way of reducing the amount of burping and farting that our cows and sheep do. And now it's time for me to take the burp and fart machine off the cameraman.